What if I told you that the so-called healthiest superfood on your plate might be nothing more than a fraud? Avocados. For years, they've been marketed as nature's gift of perfect fats, loaded with nutrients, and the ultimate clean eating food. But here's the shocking truth most people don't want to hear. Over 80% of avocado oil on the market isn't pure, and some bottles don't even contain a single drop of avocado. Think about that for a second. You're paying a premium for something that could just be cheap soybean oil dressed up with a green label. And it gets worse. Many avocados are artificially ripened in gas chambers. Guacamole at fast food restaurants is often made with peas and starch instead of real avocados. And even cosmetics labeled avocado oil are mostly filled with cheap substitutes. Welcome to the Nutrition Institute. Here, we cut through the hype and expose the hidden truths about the food industry. Because if you don't know what you're really putting into your body, how can you protect your health? Stay with me until the end of this video. You'll never look at avocados the same way again. And if you value uncovering the truth about what you eat, make sure to hit that subscribe button to support the channel. I used to believe that avocados were untouchable when it came to health. Everywhere I looked, from diet books to social media influencers, the message was the same. Avocados are the king of superfoods. Creamy, rich, full of good fats, and versatile enough to go with almost anything. I recommended them to friends, family, and even patients, convinced that eating more avocados was a direct path to better health. But then, like peeling back the skin of an overripe fruit, I started uncovering truths that made me question everything I thought I knew. What I found was unsettling, and it completely changed the way I look at this so-called miracle food. The first shock came with something that seemed so harmless, ripening. We take it for granted that when we buy an avocado at the grocery store, it's ready for us to leave on the counter, soften up, and eat within a few days. But the reality is, many of these avocados have never ripened naturally on the tree. Instead, they are harvested early and then artificially ripened in gas chambers using ethylene gas. At first, I thought this was just a way to make sure the avocados were edible when they reach stores. But then I learned what this process really does. When an avocado is forced to ripen this way, it misses out on the natural development of its flavor and its phytonutrients, the plant chemicals that carry so many of its health benefits. That's why you sometimes open an avocado that looks perfect on the outside, only to find it tastes bland, watery, or just wrong. It's a fruit that looks alive, but in some ways has been robbed of its essence. This discovery shook me because it made me realize how easily appearances can fool us. The deeper I looked, the worse it got. The real scandal isn't just in the fruit, it's in the oil. Avocado oil has been sold to us as liquid gold, the healthier alternative to seed oils like corn or soybean. I bought into this idea completely, pouring it on salads, cooking with it, even recommending it as a staple. But then I came across a study that tested 22 different avocado oil products, both refined and unrefined, from popular brands you'd recognize instantly. The findings stopped me cold. 82% of the avocado oils tested were either rancid due to oxidation or adulterated with cheaper oils like soybean or canola. Some products didn't even contain avocado oil at all, despite the bold 100% pure avocado oil printed on the label. Imagine that. You spend extra money thinking you're nourishing your body with one of the cleanest, healthiest oils on earth, only to discover you've been duped into consuming the very same inflammatory seed oils you were trying to avoid. And the worst part, you can't taste the difference. Oxidation doesn't always change the flavor in a noticeable way, but the damage it can do inside your body is very real. Oxidized oils contribute to inflammation, one of the silent drivers of chronic disease. The reason companies can get away with this is equally disturbing. Unlike olive oil, which has strict international definitions and quality standards for what can be labeled extra virgin, avocado oil has no such rules in the United States. There is no binding legal definition, no official enforcement, nothing to stop manufacturers from cutting corners, diluting oils, or outright lying on their labels. The entire market is essentially the Wild West, where deception is easy and consequences are rare. And it doesn't stop there. The labeling around origin is another trick that most people never notice. A bottle that says product of the USA might make you feel confident that you're buying something grown and processed under American standards. But legally, that label can still be used even if the avocados were grown in China, shipped to Mexico for processing, and only bottled in the U.S. By the time the product reaches your kitchen, its real journey has been completely hidden behind a patriotic sounding phrase. Add to that the fact that expiration dates aren't even required on avocado oil bottles, and it becomes almost impossible for the average consumer to know what they're really getting. Even guacamole, that beloved dip we all associate with avocados, isn't safe from this wave of deception. I learned that many fast food versions of guacamole contain less than 5% avocado, the rest green peas, starches, hydrogenated oils, and flavorings designed to trick your tongue into believing you're eating the real thing. It's not guacamole, it's green goo dressed up as guacamole, and cosmetics, they play the same game. You'll see avocado oil highlighted on the label, maybe even pictured with big green fruits. But when you read the ingredient list, the first items are usually soybean oil, palm oil, or mineral oil. The avocado oil, if it's there at all, is often just a token amount, included more for marketing than for actual benefit. At this point, I felt betrayed. How could an industry take something so naturally nourishing and twist it into a cheap imitation for profit? How many people, like me, had trusted that putting more avocado-based products into their lives was a step toward better health, when in fact, it might have been doing the opposite? The realization made me angry, but it also made me cautious. Yet, I don't want to leave you thinking avocados themselves are villains. The fruit, when grown and consumed in its pure, natural form, is still a powerhouse of nutrition. Real avocados contain an incredible fat profile that's much lower in omega-6 oils than most seed oils. They're loaded with potassium, sometimes as much as 900 milligrams in a single medium-sized fruit, and they offer magnesium too, both of which are essential electrolytes for heart and muscle function. In their true form, avocados can absolutely support health. The tragedy is that the system built around them often corrupts that potential. So, what's the lesson here? For me, it was this: don't take the health halo around a food at face value. Just because something is marketed as a superfood doesn't mean it remains one by the time it's harvested, processed, packaged, and sold. Appearances can be deceiving, and labels can lie. If I had continued to blindly trust the avocado industry, I might still be filling my pantry with oils that were harming me more than helping. Instead, I've learned to be more skeptical, to dig deeper, and to demand transparency in what I consume. When I cut into an avocado now, I see more than just a fruit. I see a reminder that even the healthiest foods can be tainted by greed and shortcuts. And it makes me wonder, if this is true for avocados, what other so-called superfoods are hiding similar secrets? That question is what drives me to keep learning, questioning, and sharing what I find, because in the end, knowledge is the only way we can truly protect our health. When I first began digging deeper into the avocado story, I thought I had already uncovered the worst of it with the ripening and the oil scandals. But the deeper I went, the more I realized how wide reaching the problem actually is. It wasn't just about how avocados are grown or how the oil is made. It was about how the entire food system is built on illusions. And the more illusions I peeled away, the more frustrated I became. Take guacamole, for example. This dip has become practically synonymous with avocados. People order it at fast food restaurants, thinking they're at least making a healthier choice. Or they grab a tub from the grocery store, confident that it's packed with the very fruit they're trying to add more of into their diet. But the truth, in many cases, guacamole is little more than a clever disguise. I was stunned to discover that some fast food guacamoles contain less than 5% avocado. The rest is made up of green peas, starches, hydrogenated oils, and flavorings. Imagine that the dish that's supposed to celebrate avocados barely contains any at all. Instead of nourishing fats and rich potassium, you're eating fillers that mimic the look, but not the value. It's not just disappointing, it's deceptive. And the same problem stretches beyond food. Walk into the cosmetics aisle, and you'll find lotion bottles, hair masks, and creams proudly boasting avocado oil on their labels. The packaging is beautiful, often featuring lush green avocados that promise natural goodness. But then you turn the bottle over, read the ingredient list, and realize the truth. The first items are usually soybean oil, palm oil, or mineral oil. The avocado oil, if it's included at all, is so far down the list that it may as well be a trace amount. It's there for marketing, not for meaningful benefit. Consumers buy these products thinking they're feeding their skin something nourishing. But in reality, they're being sold the illusion of health and nature in a bottle of cheap filler oils. The more I thought about this, the angrier I became. How is it possible that something as celebrated as avocados could be diluted and manipulated this way? How could guacamole, of all things, become a product that only pretends to be what it claims? It wasn't just about avocados anymore. This was a mirror reflecting the broader food and wellness industries, an industry that thrives on perception more than truth. But what makes the avocado situation particularly troubling is the lack of regulation. Olive oil, for example, has long been plagued with its own issues of adulteration and fraud. But at least it has standards, international definitions of what counts as extra virgin. There are tests, certifications, watchdogs. It's not perfect, but there's at least a structure. Avocado oil, on the other hand, has none of this, no official rules, no binding definitions, no requirement for labels to be accurate, and no consequences when they're not. That kind of vacuum is a breeding ground for corruption. Companies can and do take advantage of it, selling whatever mixture they want and passing it off as avocado oil, confident that the average person won't know the difference. Then there's the issue of origin labeling. I used to feel reassured when I saw product of the USA on food packaging. It felt like a stamp of safety, as though it guaranteed a certain standard. But with avocados, that phrase doesn't mean what most of us think it does. Legally, an avocado product can be labeled as a product of the United States, even if the avocados were grown overseas, say in China, processed in another country like Mexico, and only bottled in the U.S. By the time it hits the shelf, the phrase product of the USA is little more than a technicality. It doesn't tell you anything about where the fruit was grown, how it was treated, or what it's been mixed with. It just creates an illusion of trust that isn't deserved. Even expiration dates, something we expect on almost every packaged food, are murky in the world of avocado oil. There is no legal requirement to put an expiration date on the bottle. Some companies do, but the wording is vague. Best by instead of expiration date, and without knowing when the oil was actually processed, those dates are almost meaningless. An oil that has been sitting in a warehouse for a year could still be sold as fresh simply because there are no rules preventing it, and light exposure only makes the problem worse. Oils in clear plastic bottles are especially vulnerable to oxidation, but they're still sold widely, further confusing consumers who think they're making a healthy purchase. At this point, I realized that the problem wasn't just isolated to avocados, it was systemic. The very things we rely on to guide us, labels, expiration dates, origin statements, are riddled with loopholes and half-truths, and those loopholes are exploited for profit. The avocado, in this sense, is a symbol of something bigger, how the food and wellness industries have mastered the art of selling trust while delivering far less than promised. For me, the realization was a wake-up call. I had to rethink the way I made choices. Instead of blindly trusting labels or marketing slogans, I had to become a detective, reading ingredient lists, questioning claims, and even researching brands before buying. It was exhausting at first, but the alternative, continuing to consume products that might be harmful while believing they were healthy, felt worse. What struck me most, though, was how invisible this problem is to the average person. Most people don't have the time or energy to dive into studies, to question every purchase, to peel back the curtain on food marketing. They rely on trust. They trust that when a product says 100% avocado oil, it's true. They trust that guacamole is mostly made of avocados. They trust that expiration dates mean something. And yet, again and again, that trust is betrayed. This betrayal doesn't just cost money, it can cost health. Consuming oxidized oils day after day doesn't just waste your hard-earned cash, it fuels inflammation, one of the root causes of chronic illness. Eating fake guacamole, filled with starches and hydrogenated oils, doesn't just rob you of nutrients, it adds harmful compounds into your body. And using cosmetic products loaded with cheap oils may not nurture your skin, it may irritate it or simply do nothing at all. The avocado, once a symbol of clean eating, turns into a cautionary tale when you look closely. And the more I thought about it, the more it made me question if something as beloved and celebrated as the avocado can be corrupted this way. What else in our diet is hiding behind a mask? How many other foods are we consuming every day that aren't what they appear to be? This is why I share what I've learned, even when it's uncomfortable, because if we don't shine a light on these truths, we remain in the dark, continuing to trust an industry that doesn't always earn that trust. And the cost of staying in the dark isn't just money, it's our health, our well-being, and ultimately our future. After uncovering so many unsettling truths about avocados and avocado oil, I realized that I had a choice to make. I could throw my hands up in frustration, swear off avocados completely, and let the food industry win by pushing me towards cynicism. Or I could learn how to navigate the chaos, reclaim the benefits of this incredible fruit, and share what I discovered with others who deserve the truth. I chose the second path because despite all the deception surrounding avocados, the fruit itself remains one of the most nourishing foods nature has given us. If you know how to choose wisely, the first step is understanding that not all avocados or avocado products are created equal. If you want to buy avocado oil, for example, you need to become picky. Forget the bargain bin brands that tempt you with lower prices. Cheap often means compromised quality, and when it comes to oils that oxidize easily, the risk is simply too high. Look for avocado oil that comes in dark glass bottles, not clear plastic. Light exposure accelerates oxidation, and plastic offers little protection. A dark, sturdy glass bottle is your first line of defense against rancidity. Next, pay attention to labeling, but read it with skepticism. A genuine, high-quality avocado oil will often include a harvest date as well as an expiration date. Most brands won't provide this level of transparency, but when they do, it's a strong sign that they take quality seriously. If all you see is a vague Best By stamp with no other context, that's a red flag. The closer you can get to knowing when the oil was actually harvested and processed, the better. And don't be fooled by oil that looks crystal clear. Real, unrefined avocado oil should have a faint green tint, thanks to chlorophyll and other natural compounds. If it looks too clean, too perfect, it may be refined or stripped of the very nutrients that make it worth consuming in the first place. When it comes to fresh avocados, I've learned to avoid the shiny, overly perfect ones that look like they've been polished for display. In many cases, those fruits have been coated with wax or treated in ways that prioritize appearance over quality. Instead, I look for avocados that feel real, with skins that aren't flawless but have character. I gently press them with my thumb to check for ripeness. Too soft, and the flesh inside may already be spoiled. Too hard, and they're not ready yet. But when there's a slight give, a gentle resistance, that's the sweet spot. Whenever possible, I choose Hass avocados grown in California because they tend to have stricter quality controls compared to bulk imports. As for guacamole, my rule is simple. If it comes from a fast food chain, pre-packaged tube at the store, I don't touch it. Too often, these products are filled with substitutes, peas, starches, oils that masquerade as avocado while delivering little of its actual goodness. Instead, I make guacamole at home. It's not only fresher and more flavorful, but it also guarantees that I know exactly what went into it. A few ripe avocados, some lime juice, salt, cilantro, maybe a little onion or tomato, that's all it takes. Real guacamole doesn't need fillers, and once you taste the difference, it's hard to go back to the store-bought versions. Cosmetics are trickier, because ingredient labels can be overwhelming, but here too, I've learned to dig deeper. If avocado oil is listed far down on the ingredient list, after cheaper oils like soybean or palm, then I know the product isn't truly centered on avocado oil. It's just a marketing ploy. I look for brands that use avocado oil as a primary ingredient, and even then, I stay cautious. If I want the nourishing benefits of avocado for my skin, sometimes I skip the beauty aisle altogether and use food-grade avocado oil sparingly as a natural moisturizer. At least then, I know I'm not buying into a diluted illusion. The bigger lesson here is that we, as consumers, have more power than we realize. Companies cut corners because they know most people won't question them. They rely on trust and convenience. But every time we choose to question, every time we dig deeper, every time we refuse to buy the cheapest imitation, we send a message. And that message, over time, can shift the industry. I've seen it happen before with other foods, like organic produce and grass-fed beef. Once consumers demanded better and proved they were willing to support quality, the market adjusted. I believe the same can happen with avocados and avocado oil if enough of us care. And here's the hopeful part. When you do get the real thing, avocados are worth it. Their nutritional profile is remarkable. Unlike seed oils that are overloaded with inflammatory omega-6 fats, avocados are balanced with only about 10% omega-6. They provide healthy mono-unsaturated fats, and their levels of potassium are unmatched by almost any other fruit. A single avocado can deliver 500 to 900 milligrams of potassium, a mineral that helps regulate blood pressure, muscle function, and hydration. Add in magnesium, another electrolyte that so many of us lack. and you start to see why avocados gained their reputation as a superfood in the first place, the tragedy is not the avocado itself. It's what we've allowed to happen to it. We've let profit-driven shortcuts and marketing gimmicks turn something pure into something questionable. But the solution isn't to walk away from avocados. It's to reclaim them, to buy smarter, to prepare them ourselves, and to refuse to settle for counterfeits. When I look at an avocado now, I no longer see just a trendy fruit. I see a lesson in vigilance. I see the importance of asking questions, of refusing to accept labels at face value, of valuing quality over convenience. And most of all, I see the possibility of choosing differently, not just with avocados, but with everything we eat, because the truth is, avocados can still be a superfood. They can still nourish us deeply, but only if we take the time to seek out the real ones, and only if we refuse to let an industry's deception blind us to the truth. And maybe, just maybe, if enough of us care, we can turn this ugly truth into something better for ourselves and for the generations who will come after us. Looking back at everything we've uncovered about avocados, it feels almost surreal. A fruit that has been praised as a symbol of health and wellness, a staple of clean eating, turned out to have a darker side that few people talk about. From artificial ripening that strips away nutrients, to avocado oils that are oxidized, diluted, or outright fake, to guacamole and cosmetics that use avocados more as a marketing tool than a real ingredient, it's clear that the superfood story isn't as straightforward as it seems. And yet, here's the paradox. Avocados themselves are not the enemy. In their natural, uncorrupted form, they remain one of the most nutrient-dense and beneficial foods we can eat. They provide healthy fats. They're loaded with potassium and magnesium, and they genuinely can improve our health when chosen carefully. The problem lies not in the fruit, but in the system that processes, markets, and sells it to us. For me, this journey has been a reminder that trust in the food industry should never be blind. It's too easy for companies to exploit loopholes, cut corners, and package illusions. The shiny labels, the health claims, the buzzwords, all of it can make us feel safe, when, in reality, we're being misled. The only real protection we have is knowledge and vigilance. By digging deeper, questioning claims, and refusing to accept the cheapest, easiest option, we give ourselves a chance to reclaim control over what we put into our bodies. The lesson extends far beyond avocados. If something as beloved as this fruit can be twisted and diluted for profit, what does that say about other foods we consume every day? It tells me that we need to become active participants in our own health journeys, not passive consumers of whatever the industry feeds us. That means reading ingredient lists, choosing brands that are transparent, supporting quality over convenience, and, when possible, preparing foods ourselves. Personally, I no longer buy guacamole from fast food restaurants or pre-packaged tubs at the store. I make my own. I don't grab the cheapest avocado oil on the shelf. I look for dark glass bottles, harvest dates, and that natural green tint. I choose California grown Hass avocados when I can, and I test them for ripeness myself. These small decisions may seem insignificant, but together they add up to a healthier, more honest relationship with my food. The bigger takeaway is this: health isn't just about eating so-called superfoods. It's about being mindful, being informed, and being willing to question what we're told. Avocados can still be a gift from nature, but only if we respect them enough to demand the real thing. Now I'd love to hear from you. After learning the truth about avocados, would you still trust the avocado oil on your grocery store shelf? Or would you change the way you buy and eat them? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to see your perspective. And if you found value in uncovering these hidden truths, Don't forget to subscribe to the Nutrition Institute. Your support helps us keep creating honest, eye-opening content that empowers you to take charge of your health